feminist that. And I actually picked up the phone and called him instead of listening to the crazy emails. And I said, you were always a feminist. Your mother worked before women worked. She was a nurse when that was one of the 4 occupations open to women. And she worked her whole life as a nurse. And you've always hired women, worked with women, supported women. You were one of the early people to support women's sports. What the heck are you talking about when you say you don't like feminists? You are one. And I think that there are a lot of guys online who are looking at the internet going, screw these women. They're not. But when they look at their daughters, they want their daughters to have every opportunity.
Yes.
They want their daughters to make good livings. I think a lot of them, there's always a small subset, but I think they would like their daughters not to be dependent on the whim of a man. And if they don't start out that way, like George Conway, Kellyanne Conway's husband, whose daughter basically said, that all of this is bad for me. I'm a queer kid and I'm, a feminist. And I think and we were talking about this earlier, when it starts to happen in your living room, it's a requirement for an attitude change pretty darn quickly.
Pretty quickly.
You asked whether things are better or worse. And I think what's happening now is we are in a tremendous state of flux. And some people are going to go, yeah, that's right. I don't want to have a credit card in my name. And I want my husband to take care of me. And I don't want any of the responsibility of, going and standing at the DMV to get my car license. He'll just drive me everywhere I need to go if I'm not, shepherding my goats there. But there's another group of young women who are looking at this and thinking, this is not so bad, not so good. This is not good for me at all. And then there are their fathers and their brothers. And so to answer your question, I think right now we are really in a time of change, and some things are much, much worse. And some things you may be seeing a glimmer of progress. That's not the answer you wanted, probably, but there it is.
No, hey, I want the truth, right?
Well, that's just what I see.
We are in the house where facts matter.
Well, thank you. And that's how often would this be simplified if there were just an easy answer?
Yeah, how often would it be?
We would have fixed a lot of things already.
Turi, I thank you so much for spending this opening with me. I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
And I hope to see you again real soon.
I think that's a guarantee.
I love this lady right over here. We're going to keep you around. We're going to go to a break. We'll be right back for the Joan Esposito Show. Doris Davenport filling in.
Driving it home with Patty Vasquez.
John Fugelsang joins us. Oh, my God, John, I need you so badly. I need your humor. I need your brilliance.
I want to thank you for all you're doing, because CPT is like this incredible beating heart of progressive talk radio. And my first time at your studios was in, I think, 2012, and I just can't believe that how CPT keeps rolling and keeps inspiring. I give you credit for the Pope.
I'll take that, even if he is a Sox fan. We'll take it.
Patty Vasquez, weeknights 5 to 7 on WCPT 820.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds. With that kind of money, you could go big time and skip the regular line at the airport and pay for speedy security. Imagine not having to quickly unpack and pack at the place you already came packed to. And wearing your shoes the whole time you're there? You can't put a price on that kind of luxury. Well, actually you can, and you paid for it. Switch to Progressive and you could save big time for speedy security. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states. Potential savings will vary.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive on WCPT 820.
Welcome back to the Joan Esposito Show, where we are live, local, and progressive. This is Doris Davenport. I am filling in for Joan Esposito this afternoon, and I want to thank you all for joining me. We're going to have some conversation. Some of it's going to be deep, some of it's going to be light, but it will be the truth. And you know we're in the house where facts matter. This is a very critical time in our nation's history. Real patriots, people who put their lives on the line every day with their voices, are under attack, left and right. We want to talk about these real patriots, find out who they are, what impact they have, what they believe in, and what is the price that we pay if we choose not to call ourselves a patriot. on the live line, I want to welcome a woman who is a good friend of mine for many decades. She is the founder of Ida's Legacy. I'm speaking about none other than the author and the political commentator and many other things, my friend Delmarie Cobb. Delmarie, are you there?
I'm here. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well, Delmarie, and I thank you for joining me today. Listeners, if you want to call in, I ask you to hold for about the last 15 minutes. We're going to take some time and take a call or two. But Delmarie, you are somebody who is really on the front line. You are one of the women that I call a patriot because you not only convene patriots, but you put yourself on the line out there for freedom and democracy, not just for women of one hue, not just for men of one hue, but for everybody, for Americans who are free, who believe in the promise of this country. And you just held an event with some really, really powerful folks. I'm talking about people like Cori Bush, who I know probably had so much to say. I wish I had been there. But Delmarie, talk to me about the luncheon that you held and about these patriots that I'm talking about. Who are the patriots today in America?
Well, patriots in America are all those who are for
Delmarie, you're breaking up on us.
I am?
Okay, that was better. Go ahead.
Okay. So the patriots are those people who are out here fighting for all of us to do better. And they want to label them progressive, but progressive in the way that they use it, those who don't believe in it, is as if it was a cuss word. It actually is an honor to be a progressive because what it means is you believe in progress for all. When you do better, you believe that everyone else should do better, not that you should do better than everyone else. Mm. And so those are the patriots, and there's a lot of them. There are a lot of known ones, and there are a lot of unsung heroes as well.
Mm. And unsung heroes, too. That's right. That's right. Now, being a patriot, what does it mean to be a patriot? I mean, how does one know whether they are really walking in the shoes of a patriot, behaving as a patriot, standing for freedom in America? What does that look like for the average person?
Just making sure that everything you do is about lifting up everybody else, including yourself. And so it means that you are engaged in what is going on in your locality, whatever it is, whether it's your township, your city, your state, you're engaged. Whether it's your school, you're engaged. You vote. You actively take part in making sure that your community is doing well. And it doesn't matter where you live. You can live in a community that is lacking in resources, but as long as you're doing your part to make sure that everyone has as best a quality of life as possible, then you're a patriot.
Mm. You know, Delmarie, when we talk about being a patriot, sometimes we look at other people that are going through things and we want to stand up and be an ally. I look at that word ally and wonder how you think about it today in 2025, because I would have to say that I used to be a person that when I decide to be an ally for someone or something, it's rather easy to do, but it gets a little complicated for me now, because when I look out there in the world and I decide that I'm going to be an ally for a particular group, I have to stop and say and ask, is this reciprocal? Am I unfair in that?
No. It's so funny you said that because it made me think about something my mother used to say. So my mother used to say, I can help you because I love the hell out of Johnny May. and what she meant by that was helping someone else takes nothing from you. And the other part of that is, if she found out that the person she helped was not reciprocal, she said, I'm not going to help that person again, but I'm not going to let that person change me. I'm going to help somebody else.
Okay.
So you don't change who you are. You don't change your values. You don't change what you believe. But you may not be an ally to that person you thought you were going to be when you find out it's not reciprocated. And as Black women, we know that happens. It happens with us and white women. It happened during suffrage. It happened when you look at the election. 92% of Black women voted against Donald Trump, and 53% of white women voted for Donald Trump.
You think they regret it?
No, I don't think. Some of them don't regret it. Not yet. They're going to live to regret it, but they may not regret it just yet. But they're going to see before it's over when so many of the things that they took for granted are taken from them in one way or another.
Yeah. You know, I snickered for a minute because after the election and I looked at the numbers, you know, even going to work, going to restaurants that I frequent, going to people's homes, I had to look at people with a side eye, you know, wondering, what did you do when you got in that booth? Because the numbers don't lie.
I know. Well, we all do. I have that. I question that myself when I meet people now. I'm like, But since I don't know, I just treat them like I would anybody else. But those people who I do know, or those people who have decided that it is in their interest to go along to get along, such as some of these corporations, then I have made a decision. And my decision is that if you're against me, I can't be for you.
Now, that's what I'm talking about, because that is how I feel. If I give everybody, I greet everybody with a hug. Everybody doesn't want to be reciprocal in the hug, and that's okay. You have that right. But it kind of tells me where I stand with that person. And even though people say the words that they believe that everyone is created equal, that they believe that everyone has the right to life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness, action speaks a whole lot more than words.
Oh, I agree with you 100%. And I'm one of those people who says I live my life based on what people do, not what they say.
Right.
Because if you're in an abusive relationship and somebody's beating you and telling you, but honey, I love you, I mean, are you going to go with the beating or are you going to go with the words? And that's the way we have to look at some things, because that's what's happening in our government, and it's been happening in our government, and it's certainly been happening here in Chicago. I mean, we've got elected officials we've got people around us who they revere, who did everything they could to hurt the Black community, and in return hurt Chicago. That's what I talked about last night. What I talked about last night with Cori Bush there was linked fate, and how our fate is connected. And Black people know that. We've always known that.
That's right.
We've grown up thinking that if you did something, it would reflect bad on the race, not on you,
but
on the race. And so the reason there's a difference in our voting patterns is because we look at the group, the bigger picture. So we want everybody to do well. Unfortunately, in the white community, what they've been taught is individual exceptionalism, that they're special, that, you know, they do things differently. And so you have to worry about yourself. I mean, and that's the kind of country we're in. We're in a country where, and that's not to disparage the country, it's just to be realistic, and that is we're in a country where we talk about Horatio Algier, pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, and also the survival of the fittest. I mean, that's the kind of world we're in. But that's not the world the black community has typically been in, because everything that happened to us because of the color of our skin. So we were linked automatically.
Mm-hmm. We are linked automatically. Delmarie, there is so much happening in this country right now, and with both the House and the Senate and the Oval Office all being controlled by one party that does not seem to want to even concern themselves with the things that are important to me. I think about the progressive squad in D.C. that is getting smaller and smaller, and I wonder what is going to happen during these midterm elections. What is the messaging that we're going to be bringing out to the people? I have said it. I'm never one who's going to stand and jump ship and point the finger at the Democratic Party from the other side. I am a Democrat, and I believe in fighting from the inside. I know what our problems are. Our messaging must change. So I want to talk to you about the messaging when we come back from a break. I want to talk about how we're going to get people to the polls. People are no longer going to just come out of their homes on Election Day and go to the polls because the date says it is Election Day. Apathy is real, it's alive, it's well, and people have given up in a lot of respects. How do we reignite that fire? How do we get people to believe that they can make a difference, that every vote counts? I mean, we can look at tight elections, and those are very good examples. But, when we see what's going on in Texas and other places where they're looking at gerrymandering and they're going to try to force that issue, they're going to break the law and do whatever they can any way they can. But let's talk about that on the other side of the break. My guest on the Joan Esposito Show is Delmarie Cobb. This is Doris Davenport, and we will be right back.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see mostly sunny skies here this afternoon with a high into the lower 90s. Winds out of the southwest around 5 to 10 miles per hour. And then for tonight, a slight chance for showers and thunderstorms here late. Partly cloudy skies, a low near 74. By Saturday, a slight chance for rain and storms, cloudy, high of 93 degrees. Sunday, slight chance for rain and storms, high of 91. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 90.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
Now back to Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive on WCPT 820.
And we are back with the Joan Esposito Show. My name is Doris Davenport. You all know me from the Doris Davenport Show that has aired right here on WCPT for many years. I'm filling in for Joan, who's out today. I am so excited to have Delmarie Cobb on the line with me, and we've been talking about women in this movement and things like linked fate. But just before the break, I asked Delmarie about this upcoming election and what will the messaging look like? What are your thoughts about the messaging and how we can get people to the polls?
Well, I really don't know what it's going to take to get people to the polls. The sad part about it is that you almost have to be self-motivated, and we have to get to people early so that they understand. My dad used to have a saying that if your empty stomach and your empty pocket don't get you up to go to work, then I'm not going to get you up to go to work. So that's what we have to, so you have to be self-motivated. You don't want an empty stomach, you don't want an empty pocketbook, then you need to go vote. And you need to make your voice heard. And the mistake we make is the reason people are disillusioned is not because whatever they do, it doesn't work. It's because once they vote, they don't hold people accountable after the vote. You don't vote for people and then let them do what they want to do. You vote for people and make them do what they should be doing because they are, this is the operative word, your representatives. So if they're not representing you, there is a problem.
There is a problem. You know, if I were a multimillionaire, one of the things that I would do and focus on is something that was available to me as a young person, as a teenager living in Harlem, New York, and that's something we called Saturday school. At that time, you could go anywhere in Harlem. If there was a vacant lot, there was a history lesson, a political lesson being taught on that lot. There was some black person who was learned and who was progressive teaching you about history, because the kids are not learning it in school. So when they come out at 18, that investment is not where it needs to be. And that needs to change.
You're absolutely right. I mean, people are not learning in school what they should be doing and the value of voting. I mean, you hear young people say all the day, oh, I don't believe in that. What do you mean you don't believe in that? Don't believe in what? What are you talking about? What is there to believe in?
Yeah.
You're supposed to go out and vote, but you're supposed to do your homework so you know who you're voting for. I mean, when you look at just on the local level, Doris, and you look at the aldermen who continue to get reelected, and they're being reelected with 5,000, 6,000 people turning out to vote, when a ward is 50,000 people. How does that make sense?
How does it make sense? It doesn't make sense. There is nothing about that makes sense. Nothing.
And then we don't, and for instance, you know, you had a mayor here, Rahm Emanuel, who did everything he could to hurt the black community. And this is why I think some people are disenchanted, because here he is, and I'm using him as an example. Here he goes, he's elevating himself to be the spokesperson for the Democratic Party, to tell us what we need to do to win. In all the while, he's trying to position himself to be the next president. If, as black people in the city of Chicago, we allow Rahm Emanuel to position himself to be the president, we are crazy, because we all know other black people in other towns, and we should all be telling them what he did to Chicago. He didn't run for re-election because he just got tired and wanted to do something else. He didn't run for re-election because he knew he would not win after the Laquan McDonald incident, after he tried to hide the videos so that they would never become public, after he tried to pay the mother 5 days after the election $5 million.
Shut down 50 schools in one day with no notice to anybody that mattered.
The largest school closing in the nation.
In the nation, yes.
And if people wanted to do something about that, if he really had been doing that out of his generosity of spirit, because he cared about the black community, he would have repurposed those buildings so that they could have been used within the black community. When you consider we have 100,000 units of affordable housing missing, we're down 100,000 units of affordable housing in the city of Chicago. All of those schools could have been repurposed into homes.
All of them. And many of them still sit vacant. And we know what any kind of a vacant property does to the neighborhood that it sits in. So let's tie that to some of the crime as well that they want to point to.
And the public housing. So they tore down. So I look at Ida B. Wells, which is on the corner of where I live. 2002, that was torn down. 2002. It was supposed to be rebuilt. It has not been rebuilt yet. There was and to show you, again, linked fate, there was a hardware store on the corner of 35th Street that I grew up with. They had been there almost 100 years. The little boy who wound up owning it, he and I were little kids together. I asked him why he went out of business. This has been about 5-6 years ago. I asked him why he was closing. He said, I'm closing because when they tore down the project, they promised they were going to rebuild them. He says, and I've been waiting ever since. He said, I lost 10,000 customers.
10,000?
Right. So when you look at Stateway Gardens, Ida B. Wells, Ickes, all those that are all around there, he lost 10,000 customers. So even if you buy mousetrap once a year, that's the mousetrap he didn't get.
Oh, my goodness. That is too much. That is too much. But, you know, when we think about broken promises, I think about Rahm Emanuel's tenure as the mayor in the city of Chicago, and we can't ignore it. You're absolutely right, because it was marked by such a wide gap between all those many promises that he made and the reality that we experienced on the ground, right? I mean, the commitments to increase transparency, rebuild trust in government, and we can't even forget about the pledges on policing, economic equity. He delivered a lot of policies that fell short and even contradicted some of the assurances he made in his campaigns. And we have someone like that we've already seen what that looks like. We've experienced it with him. But it left a lot of us feeling that his administration absolutely prioritized political expediency over public trust. And I'm not willing to go down that path again.
Well, what he did here should be disqualifying. And there should not even be a hint of him being able to go around the country and talk about what the Democrats need to do, we should be talking about the classroom and not the bathroom. Well, you closed 50 schools. Mm-hmm. How much did the classroom mean when you closed 50 schools? And you've got people who are now saying, well, there's 36 people in a school now. Those schools should be closed. They should be closed. But why are there 36 people in a school? There's 36 people in a school because you've done everything possible to decimate the communities that surround the schools.
Yeah, no one can tell me. I said it loud and proud even then. I have many people in my life who support him. I am not one because this is personal to me and my community, and that is where I stand on that issue. You know, those school closures, nobody can deny they disproportionately impacted Black communities, Latino communities, and all of the promises were that he was going to strengthen education citywide. All those initiatives.
But of course, if you let them tell it, he couldn't do what he wanted to do because of Karen Lewis.
Oh, come on. God rest her soul. How I miss that woman. You talk about a patriot? Karen Lewis.
Exactly.
Her picture should be next to the word in the dictionary because she brought it. She brung it, y'all. She brung it. Yes, she did. I had mentioned to Turi before you came on the line, and I want to mention it to you, too, because I absolutely plan to do a segment in March, Women's History Month, that I want you to be a part of. Actually, it's going to be it's not Women's History Month. I kept wishing that it was. It's going to be in June. We've got a show called Suffs that's coming. It's actually coming July 7th. It'll be here for 2 weeks. And
Hillary Clinton is one of the producers.
That's exactly right. And, you know, the tagline behind the play is behind every powerful woman are more powerful woman. And that's something I want to talk about next July. I want you to be part of that conversation.
I'd love to.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun one. But we've got about 4 minutes left in our segment. And I want to know, Delmarie, what is on your mind most today?
Well, what is on my mind most today is that we have got to fight every step of the way. And for somebody, you started out the conversation about patriots. Mm-hmm. But for some people, fighting takes different, it takes different forms. Mm-hmm. For some people, it's the takedown. And for some people, it's voting. For some people, it's protesting. For some people, it's fighting back in other ways. So whatever your way of fighting and making sure that other people do well, you've got to do it. You can't sit back on the sidelines and let somebody else do it for you. You have to be the person doing it.
You have to be the person doing it. We've got to learn to fight for ourselves. I have 3 sisters. When I was coming up, my father said, do not let the principal call here and tell me you started a fight. But if you better not start it, but you better finish it.
Exactly.
So we were not allowed to walk away. We were encouraged always to stand up for ourselves, to never let anybody treat us disrespectfully. I was suspended from school
I agree
only
100%.
once. Go ahead, Delmarie.
We had the same parents.
That's right, because they knew what was going on in this world. They knew what kind of problems that we were going to face. And they knew how important it was for us to be able to, establish our own coping mechanisms on how we deal with folks. Because even as a 9-year-old girl, 9 years old, in 5th grade, moving from New York City to a suburban town in New Jersey, I was not welcome there. Not by the teachers or the students. But I had to develop some coping mechanisms, and I did.
Exactly. And that's what we have to do. And for some people, it just may be knocking on doors or making phone calls. But whatever it is, you've got to be engaged and you've got to be involved because you see what's at stake here. And if we let the Republicans get back in office, all of our freedoms will be taken away from us.
That's right. That's right. Listen, folks, I want you to put Ida's legacy in your contact list. You want to stay tuned to what Delmarie Cobb is doing with the Ida B. Wells Legacy Committee. This is a big fundraising year. Those of you who want to help the progressive movement, those of you who are interested in the state of affairs for Black folk, you want to join Ida's Legacy. You want to donate, whether it's $5 or $10 or $20 or $50 or $100. But this is to ensure that progressive African-American women candidates run for local and state offices. Delmarie, let them know where people can send a donation, find out more about Ida's Legacy.
So go to our website, which is www.idaslegacy.com, and you can go to the homepage and scroll down and subscribe to our e-blasts. And also you can make a donation on the page. We also have merchandise. If you want to wear one of our shirts that I wear and talk about all the time is when Black women win, all women win. And we've got to make that point to understand that, again, we're all in this together.
Amen. What a closeout. Delmarie, thank you so much for spending this last half an hour with us here on WCPT, where facts matter, on the Joan Esposito Show, where it is live, local, and progressive. My friend, I will see you soon. It's time for us to break bread together.
Okay, thanks, Doris. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. We'll talk soon. Hey, WCPT listeners, tonight on Driving It Home, Ben Caminos will be in for Patty Vasquez. Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, weekdays from 5 to 7 p.m. Central on WCPT 820 AM, the Heartland Signal website. Tune in, YouTube, and Facebook. We'll be right back.
When it comes to banking, you need a bank you can trust. A bank with a rock-solid reputation and the highest integrity. A bank that gives you the attention and respect you deserve.
ABOC first opened its doors in downtown Chicago in 1922, and we've made our name on deep expertise, best-in-class service, and a strong commitment to our customers. We know the Chicago business market inside and out and can help you craft the perfect banking solution, no matter what type of business you're in.
And if you're looking for a banking partner for your labor union, we can bring the type of expertise that only comes from a bank that was founded by labor unions and still has union employees and shareholders to this day.
Whether you need a deposit account, loan, trust services, or investment management, ABOC has you covered. Let's work together to manage your finances today while planning for a better tomorrow. ABOC, a bank built on a strong foundation.
Visit aboc.com to learn more. Member FDIC.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive on WCPT 820.
And welcome back to Live, Local, and Progressive. This is the Joan Esposito Show. My name is Doris Davenport, and I am filling in for my sister, Joan Esposito. It is a pleasure to be here for these 3 hours talking to Chicagoland. We've had some great conversations already. And let's have a little fun. You know, we were just talking, Delmarie Cobb and I, about women. What women are doing. We want women to be strengthened everywhere. We support all women, right? I happen to be an African-American woman, and I'm proud to have another sister on the line. This is none other than Alexis Roston, who is an actor. She is a playwright. She is a director, and she is, most importantly, my friend. Alexis, are you there?
I'm here. Hey, Doris.
Hey, honey.
How are you?
I'm so good. It's so good to see you, to talk to you. Listen,
Indeed.
I'm going to get right into it. You and your husband are just icons, not just in the city of Chicago, but throughout the world as people who are lighting up the stage with plays that really brings strong messages. You just assisted directed with Ronald J. Parson, Twisted Melodies at Northlight. This is a play that your husband wrote and starred in, and it's the story of Donny Hathaway. So I'm telling you, I have seen this production 3 times now, and it is a production that never fails to leave grown, Black, white, you name it, men and women weeping in their seats. Alexis, talk to me about what it's like to be a woman and a Black woman directing a play, directing your husband in a play, and directing with Ronald J. Parson. Talk to me, sister.
Oh, that's very, very loaded. One, I will say it was an honor and a privilege to be a part of this process with Kelvin and Ron O.J. I revere both of them. I tell Kelvin all the time, I admire you as an artist. You know, and of course, Ron O.J. is legendary, and to be in the room with the both of them there was just such a wealth of knowledge in the room, and I was grateful to be present. I have been around Twisted Melodies since Twisted Melodies became Twisted Melodies. So naturally, I feel attached to it because it's my husband's baby, right? And so I'm the stepmother to Twisted Melodies, and it's precious. It's very precious. And when Ron O.J. asked me to come on board as his associate director, I didn't hesitate. You know, it was a no-brainer. I'd seen everyone, you know, and just prior to the phone call, I had directed it at the International Black Theater Festival, and it went over very well. So I was proud of it, and we come back around to it this year, and I mean, I'm just over the moon proud of what we were able to capture out there at Northlight and Skokie. I mean, I appreciate them having us out there. I really appreciate the introduction to Black culture, the introduction to how much of a universal theme we are sharing. The subject matter is monumental, and it affects everyone. It doesn't matter race, gender, nothing. So I was very proud to be a part of that. It was important to Kelvin to have that mental health awareness connection when we did it the first time in 2015. So there was a partnership with NAMI Chicago, and there was a talk back literally after every show. Ooh. Every single show, Kelvin gave of himself, and there was a representative from NAMI there every show, and it made it very apparent how much larger this was. This wasn't just another stage play. This was almost a ministry. You know what I mean? This was something that needed to happen, and needed to be shared with the masses. And people were literally hearing things for the first time, fresh. They came with fresh ears, and they were seeing their relatives and understanding better why this aunt was this way, or why, don't mind her, don't mind him. It was such a revelation, because again, mental issues are stigmatized here, in the Black community. So we don't really talk about mental health like that. We are now, and it is remarkable to see how many people are receiving therapy, and are dealing with their mental health. It is necessary, especially in the climate of the country, right now. So those things made me very proud. And I said, when we did it this time, I was reaching out to NAMI, and it was a chase, honey. I was chasing them down. But in the last hour, we were able to make it work, and they came out and did one of the post-show discussions with us, and it was a wonderful time, and people were, again, able to share their stories, their own personal occurrences with mental health. And it was nice to be in that space, to allow them to have that. And, no one was shy about it. Sometimes it just takes the arena. You know what I'm saying?
It takes the arena, and sometimes just one person. The fact that Donny Hathaway's daughter was there.
Yeah.
Multiple times, and I was with her at the Bud Billiken parade, and I mean, she talked about it with many people, and she would say openly, she says, look, it's not just that it's about my father. That play is so powerful, and that's from her lips to God's ears. But I have to ask you, when you think about doing this, assisting, directing this play that your husband wrote and starred in, what was it like collaborating so closely on such a deeply personal and emotionally charged production? I mean, how did that dynamic influence his performance, do you think? Because he brought it.
Yeah. Well, it put me in protective mode, like I said, this is like my step baby, you know what I mean? And so I was very protective of Kelvin in the process, because Kelvin does not know how to pull back or do mark anything, as we would say in theater. Just give us about 70%. He doesn't know how to do that. He's got to go full throttle every single time. And so it was a little scary to watch at times, you know. And we would constantly say, Ron O.J. and myself, hey, you know, if you want to pull back there, it's all right. But he's a machine, you know. He goes and he goes, and it's really remarkable to watch because I just don't know any other. I've never seen another artist do that, you know, ever in my life. And as a vocalist even, it is scary. You're like, how are you able to sing clarion like that and scream
and
and from your gut, you know. Like how is that even possible? It was something else, and you know. Also, though, we tried to keep it as light in the room as we could. You know, I'm silly, Ron O.J. silly. You know, Kelvin is dramatic, but with us being so silly, he didn't have a choice. You know, he had to go with it. You know, because it's heavy. You know, it's heavy material.
It is definitely a heavy subject. We have a couple of minutes left. I know that you took time out of rehearsal to talk to me, and I appreciate that. Tell me about the production you're working on.
Oh, I'm out at the Marriott Theater in Lincolnshire doing Catch Me If You Can. We start running October 27th, and we go through October 19th. So come on out, check me out. I am playing Carol Strong. Now, Carol Strong is the mother of Brenda Strong, who Frank Abagnale fell in love with and wanted to marry. All right?
Suck a second now.
Yes. And I mean, I play some other things too here and there, you know. It's an ensemble piece. Yeah.
Oh, that is beautiful. Tell us where we can get tickets for your show. When does it start? When does it end?
Oh, again, it's August 27th through October 19th, and you can go to www.marriotttheater.com.
Oh. Awesome. Alexis Roston, I want to thank you for joining me today. This has been a fantastic conversation. I wish those of you who have not seen Twisted Melodies had a chance to see it, but you got a chance to hear from an African-American woman who is on the front lines of theater today. She does one-woman shows herself. She's got an awesome voice. What was the last one I saw you in? Was it Lady Day? What was the name of it?
Yeah, Lady Day at Emerson's Bar and Grill.
Oh, and wow, did you perform? That was beautiful. Alexis, thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll talk to you later.
Okay, we appreciate you. We will be back in a little bit. This is Doris Davenport. I'm filling in for the beautiful Joan Esposito on Live, Local, and Progressive.
Make your first lawn move with the reliable performance and power of Steel battery tools, hedge trimmers, mowers, string trimmers, and more. Shop in-store or online at steeldealers.com.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin shook hands on the tarmac in Anchorage, Alaska.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Their summit on Ukraine is underway.
I'm in this to stop the killing.
On Air Force One, the president said he's hopeful a deal to end the fighting in Ukraine can be worked out. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is not in Anchorage.
I'm not here to negotiate for Ukraine. I'm here to get them at a table, and I think you have two sides. Look, Vladimir Putin wanted to take all of Ukraine. If I wasn't president, he would right now be taking all of Ukraine.
David Salvo with the German Marshall Fund says the big question is, will the president be able to push back?
Whether he has the capability in a 3-hour meeting with President Putin, who is extremely savvy, understands the United States and President Trump, I think, quite well. Whether he has the ability to sort of push back on what he is sure to be a barrage of Russian talking points and Russian maximalist demands.
This will no longer be a one-on-one meeting. The two will have aides with them when they talk about the war in Ukraine. Back home in Washington, D.C., the city is suing to block President Trump's takeover of its police department. The move comes after a federal official was named as the new emergency head of the department. Nene Taylor is with the group Free D.C.
We're going to resist fascism. We're going to resist authoritarianism. cutting jobs. We're going to resist you cutting health care. We're going to resist you trying to take over D.C.
D.C. Police Chief Pamela Smith says the move is a threat to law and order. In Florida, rapper Shawn Kingston was sentenced to 3.5 years in prison after being convicted of a $1 million fraud scheme in which he leveraged his fame to dupe sellers into giving him luxury items that he never paid for. Republicans in Texas began a second special session to approve new congressional maps sought by President Trump. This is AP News. The Chinese economy is showing signs of slowing.
As factory output and retail sales slowed and housing prices fell further, monthly data shows retail sales rose 3.7% year on year, down from 4.8% in June. Investments in factory equipment and other fixed assets rose a meager 1.6% in July, compared with just under 3% growth in January to June. Uncertainty over tariffs on exports to the US is still looming over manufacturers, after President Donald Trump extended a pause in sharp hikes in import duties following a 90-day pause. Oxford economics' Shiana Yui writes in a study, exports remain a bright spot in China, although the boost from front-loading appears to be tapering off and has started to show up in weak industrial production, as we'd anticipated. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
More information at apnews.com. I'm Ed Donahue, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see mostly sunny skies here this afternoon with a high into the lower 90s. Winds out of the southwest around 5 to 10 miles per hour. And then for tonight, a slight chance for showers and thunderstorms here late. Partly cloudy skies, a low near 74. By Saturday, a slight chance for rain and storms, cloudy, high of 93 degrees. Sunday, slight chance for rain and storms, high of 91. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 90.
You're the only voice of reason on the radio.
You give me hope.
Having listened to you every day.
Thank you for your clear insight.
Always felt a little bit smarter.
I listen to you every single day. I keep coming back to this station, and thank you for what you do.
On WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
It's time for Joan Esposito. Live, local, and progressive.
Joan, as always, exceptional work from you from, your TV days all the way up to today. You're truly exceptional, and thanks for this great show you have.
It's time for Joan Esposito on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk.
Saturday on The Big Picture, Edwin Eisendrath will be joined by Lisa Graves, founder and executive director of True North Research, a national investigative watchdog group that works with journalists and other researchers to shine a bright light on the dark money fueling regressive agendas targeting vital institutions in our republic. He'll also be welcoming Michelle Regalado Dietrich, chair and founder of the DNC Council on the Environment and Climate Crisis, and Chris Geidner, author of the Law Dork Substack newsletter. And lastly, Kendall Scudder, chair of the Texas Democratic Party. The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath, Saturdays from 1 to 4 Central on WCPT, Chicago's Progressive Talk for 20 years. This is the Joan Esposito Show, live, local, and progressive. My name is Doris Davenport, and I am filling in for Joan today. Very proud to do so. We are going to continue our conversations. Before I introduce our next guest who is on the live line, as we speak, I want to just thank the people who are sending in messages on our text groove. We've had some good messages, and I know you're listening. I can't respond to everyone. I do apologize, but I absolutely want you to know that I see you. I can see that you are listening to what we have to say, and we are going to be taking calls in the last half an hour, and I'll announce that when we're ready. But know that we are listening. I'm going down the line here. Just want to mention a few of you who have called in since I have been on the air. Ron F., thank you so much. You are saying that, let's see, you have trouble understanding how these women on the Republican side can look their daughters in the eye, knowing that their ancestors fought to get them where they are today. Keep up the fight. You said it. We have all got to keep up the fight. We have got to support each other because there are people who want to take us backward. And that is a direction I am not willing to go unless I'm doing the moonwalk. Okay. Now, let's see. There's no name here, but this is somebody who loves Lady B just like I do. Lady B sitting across from me. So good to be back together. But you say if you really want to get a bigger turnout for Democrats need to start discussing reparations for African Americans. African Americans are no longer a slave to the Democratic Party. That is true, and that is where the danger lies, right? Because if we're not addressing the issues of African Americans, I promise the Democratic Party doesn't have a chance in hell. Now, that's the truth, y'all. You can believe it if you want to or not, but that is the truth. Now we're going to move forward. Our guest today is Dante King. He's a university professor, acclaimed author, and fearless truth teller on race, equity, and justice in America. He's not here to offer platitudes. He's here to disrupt the status quo, which is why I wanted to talk with him today. As a DEI strategist and human resource management consultant, Dante has transformed policy at the highest levels, including helping craft San Francisco's first racial equity ordinance. His book, The 400-Year Holocaust, and the forthcoming Diagnosing Whiteness and Anti-Blackness, is that not out yet? Lay bare the structures of systemic racism and challenge us to dismantle them. From medical schools to city halls, from boardrooms to community spaces, Dante doesn't just talk about change. He equips people to make it real. Dante, are you there, Dante
Hello.
King?
I am. Thank you so much. That was a dynamic introduction, and I'm happy to be here with you today.
Awesome. I certainly appreciate you taking the time out to spend this hour with me. Dante, your work spans government policy, academia, and corporate leadership. But at its core, what I have learned about you, just in the research of having you as my guest, is that often in rooms where the truth is uncomfortable, when you walk into those rooms, what's the first truth you feel that people need to hear?
Well, I think people need to hear the truth of this country, because without context, we're making up or drawing conclusions that are rooted in unreality, which another word for that is delusion. And so we have to understand that this country, America was founded on principles of white supremacy, and particularly white male supremacy, with the support of many white women. And I would venture to say most white women. That is not to say that there weren't white women who were opposed to white supremacy. We know that. We can tell that. Just like there were some white men who were opposed to the behaviors of white extremism, not necessarily white supremacy, but white extremism. They were opposed to the behaviors of white extremism. However, this nation was founded, all of our institutions, our cultural norms, tenets were decided and implemented and instituted and founded by white men to advance agendas that cater to the interests and the stability of white men. So we have always prioritized men in this country. This country has devalued women for centuries. Even when you look at, for example, I've been looking at this lately, but laws around that governed consent, right? The United States of America carried on and embraced laws that were established in Westminster, England, dating back to 1275, that set the age limits for consent at age 12 for young girls, and those laws were in effect until the 1880s, roughly between 1880 and 1890 did those laws change. And so we have to look at the ways in which the lives of everyone, non-white people and women, and virtually everyone have been controlled by the decisions of white men. And so white male patriarchy is a political machine. It is a political reality. It is a legal and economic reality. And so whenever we're discussing disparities, or whenever we are discussing unfairness, or whenever we are discussing the effects of policies that have an adverse impact on certain groups, we have to understand the context, because that reality has not changed. All of American institutions are still predominantly run by white men. White men sit at the top of the food chain economically, culturally, and setting the standards for cultural norms. Law enforcement, every aspect of our lives are impacted by this. And I think we have to address this by doing what I do in my book, Diagnosing Whiteness and Anti-Blackness, which actually is out. But I do a forensic analysis of the legal tenets and legality in this culture dating back to the colonial period, but also, moving it forward through the founding of the United States and the continuance on into 20th and 21st century America.
Well, I'm going to be looking forward to reading that book, and maybe you cover this in the book. But what I'd like to know is, when you talk about how current consent laws devalue women, what kind of specific changes, legal or cultural, do you believe are essential if we're serious about protecting women's rights and autonomy?
Well, first of all, I will tell you, and then I will reveal something very personal. Mm-hmm. I myself was a victim of sexual abuse, when I was a young child. And I think that, thank you, but I think that it is degrading and dehumanizing for anyone to set an age limit for anyone else. I think that needs to be looked upon, because it diminishes the humanity of the individual. And I think that there are laws that should govern, people's choice in readiness. And if someone is not ready, if they are not giving consent or able to give consent, if they don't feel that they are ready, it is no one's decision to determine that just because they're of a certain age, they should be coerced into submitting to something or participating in something that they're not ready for. And so we have to look at how this is operating and how it's functioning. And when we look at the impacts, for example, that in terms of how mothers are being affected, those that have been in the workforce who have young children, these policies are inhumane. They are meant to facilitate the exit of women in the workforce, and so they're having the intended impacts and effects. And I think this all fits within the same container. There, of course, different subjects, extremely different in nature, but they sit within the same container.
That's really interesting to me, because when I think about these laws that we have in this country on consent, and I know they vary state by state, jurisdiction by jurisdiction, but it's between 16, 17, and 18, mostly, I believe. The states like Alabama, Massachusetts, Ohio, maybe even Connecticut are the ones that look at women, as low as 16 for that age of consent. But in other places, isn't there a difference? Aren't there some states that even have younger ages when it comes to consensual sexual activity, like 13 and 15?
Yeah.
I think Connecticut is one of those.
Yes. I believe so, too. I also think that's true for states like Utah. And so understanding the history of all of this is very important, but not just to understand history, but the decisioning and who's making these decisions and why.
And why.
What's the intended impact?
Yes.
We want we believe, or let me just say, not we. Let me back up. I got to calm myself. But there are many people, namely men, who have gone on record around their cultural ideology. When we look at, for example, the guy that Darren Beatty, who Trump tapped on the shoulder, I believe he's in his administration somewhere. He says, competent white men must be in charge if you want things to work. Oh. Unfortunately, our entire national ideology is predicated on coddling the feelings of women and minorities and demoralizing competent white men. And so that is a political position. And if you have the economic positioning and the agency, you have positional agency where you are able to infuse your belief into the laws that get passed, we have to then understand that the law is only a political tool that can be manipulated. It can be changed at any time based on the objectives that the people in power want to accomplish. And that's very important to understand.
Oh, yeah. And I think not only that, I mean, you said historically, but even if we look at the impact today on some of these laws, right? Whether, the intended or perpetuated. I mean, let's be real about it. Because when you think about white men passing these laws of consent off on women, not only does it limit women's political power, it institutionalizes gender inequality, it racializes sexual violence. I see that today.
Yeah.
I see historically and today white men protected from consequences for sexual acts, especially with women of color. Especially with women of color. And
for sure.
Pisses me off.
I think we saw a litany of stories that came out about the Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, and his involvement with various women and them bringing forth claims that he was, had sexually assaulted one of them. We've had our own United States president go on record multiple times. There was not only the 2006 Access Hollywood video, 2005-2006 video that surfaced, where he bragged about grabbing women, by their private parts. But when he was deposed in the E. Jean Carroll deposition back in, I think it was October 2022 or 23, he said, this is what men have been doing for a million years. And he further reinforced his position on men being able to willfully and aggressively assault women sexually. You have the former Michigan Township Supervisor, Ken Fletcher, who was arrested in a child sex sting. He resigned, but then later won re-election in a landslide. And so you have a culture of sexual predators that dates back for centuries, many centuries. They have been behaving in this way. It is reinforced, and it is my view that this country and our culture and the way that it grooms young males and boys to behave and to see themselves in relationship to females and how we are socialized to interact and engage with girls and women. It is my view that this country suffers from cultural sexual addiction and hypersexualization, and it needs to be investigated as a pathology. The predation of this country, past and present, should be studied as a pathology. When we look at, for example, the laws that have recently passed, either statutes or resolutions or initiatives, ballot initiatives, where they are gunning for abortion. And not only are they anti-abortion, but what they have legalized, and they have included they have included conditions whereby if someone is raped, they have made provisions for rape and incest. So women are being required to carry to term the babies of their rapists. And what does that remind us of? That reminds us of the institution of slavery. That is what they did. When you read through the slave narratives, when you look at, for example, the Mississippi George v. State case, where the Mississippi Supreme Court said that young black girls, the young black girl that had been raped on a plantation, she was 9 years old, that she couldn't be raped because black girls and women couldn't be raped because they're promiscuous. When you look at how they bred young black girls and women to create what we now reference as the gross domestic product of this country, we have to then understand that this is a perpetuation of how this country was founded. This is a perpetuation of a serious psychopathic nature. We are dealing with sociopaths, people who devalue the humanity of other people, who do not have humanity themselves, and will do whatever they need to, by any means necessary, to accomplish whatever the intended goal and objective is that benefits them and their interests.
I just love your passion, and I have got you riled up now. So let's just keep this going, because you know what else I see? Malignant narcissism.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
And do you know what else I see? Diabolical psychopathy. I mean, come on. You did a series called Consider This. Am I not right?
Yes.
And in that series, you define terms like white malignant narcissism, malignant diabolical psychopathy. Can you explain to the listeners what you mean by these terms, but how you understand them? Explain how this helps us to dismantle the white supremacist structure.
For sure. So, in my book, Diagnosing Whiteness and Anti-Blackness, if you go to either Amazon, you can go to DanteKing.com and check out the book. I also produced a 10-part episodic video series that discusses themes in the book. So white malignant narcissism, I define as extreme arrogance and self-centeredness, disregards feelings and needs of others, manipulates, uses, and exploits others for personal gain or pleasure, possesses an extreme need for power, exacts revenge against others upon critique, fantasizes about ways to gain more power or dominance over others, lacks conscience, regret, or remorse for actions and behaviors, delights in acts of cruelty and pain of others, directs high levels of aggression at other people, exhibits paranoia and mistrust of others. And so when we look across the entire collective group of white men in this country, past and present, we can very much see these themes reinforced, these tenets and themes that I've outlined within this definition. We can see these across the conglomerate of white men in this country and white women to a degree. That is not to say that this is a conclusive statement, that I am saying that 100% of white men fit into this definition, but I am saying that the themes are, of course, very present when we look at history, past and present. And for anyone to understand why, I may have engaged in creating these terms and working with other behavioral health experts, both past and present, to define them in this way. For anyone to understand this, they would need to, A, read my book and really look at the historical, legal conditions and circumstances that I outline in my book, the perpetuation of how these things currently affect our current cultural context. But B, they would also need to participate I offer a fellowship. It's a 16-week-long fellowship, and it is modeled, after the contents of my book primarily, and then I invite in some other global leaders on this topic, such as Dr. Robin DiAngelo and some others. But it's really a process in providing a very thorough explanation of my book. Because once I begin to find, for example, when we look at, the Florida State Supreme Court in 1918, them deciding that, women black women could not prove chastity because they were hypersexual creatures, because they were just immoral in nature. You've got the Georgia State Supreme Court ruling in a case in 1899, I believe, where black men are concerned, and they're saying that even if there's evidence that shows and demonstrates that the black male involved in an alleged, sexual assault incident, even if there's evidence that proves that he's innocent, his blackness trumps that evidence, because black men, just because they are black, are rapists. I said these are psychopaths. Where black people are concerned, they're psychopaths, and it was really the coming across the works of Dr. Bobby Wright, who was a black psychologist in the 1970s and 80s, and his work on the psychopathic racial personality. And he was very specific. He says, in their relationship with the black race, whites are psychopaths, and their behavior represents something that has evolved over time. He says all you have to do is study the evolutionary history of whiteness, which we know is just a concept. It's a political invention. It's never been defined legally or scientifically. He says all you have to do is look at the evolution of this concept, and you will walk away with the understanding that there is psychopathy at work. And I've added to this sociopathy. So, yes, white malignant narcissism, and I'll pause there.
Well, that's interesting, because we just had Mark from Utah send a text in, and I had just come up with a question I wanted to ask you, and then I looked over and saw Mark's text. Mark, thank you for sending your message in. His text says, I'm 60, young white guy, huge fan of WCPT. My favorite thing about this segment is knowing how many white guys are getting so triggered hearing this truth. And I had to chuckle, of course, because when you talk about that 16-week fellowship and the intention that you have for that 16-week fellowship, I ask the question, what transformations do you see in people who commit to understanding, who commit to that journey? How does doing an extended format versus just having someone read the book, how does it change the way they understand your work compared to just reading it? And what are they intended to do? What's the expectation?
Wow. All I can say is wow, wow, wow. This is a fantastic question. And so in my book, I include...
And you know what? I'm going to stop you. I'm going to let you think about that one. We're going to have you answer that on the other side of the break. Just hang on with me for just a moment. We are with Dante King. He's a university professor. He's an author. He's a human resource management consultant and a DEI expert. And y'all, guess what? He didn't take that off his bio when the new administration came into office. It is still there. DEI expert. And people still want to know what he has to say. And you know what? On Mondays, on Choose Views, people still want to know what Richard Chew has to say. And this Monday on Choose Views, Richard Chew's guests are Chicago Teachers Union President Stacey Davis Gates. I just got a good old hug from Stacey Gates at the Brett Billiken Parade. And Democratic strategist Mike Nellis will be on. Sarah Jones of Politics USA and The Daily. Also, next week, Richard will talk to Texas State Representative Chris Turner and musician Patrice Rushen. They're going to party, y'all. Choose Views weekdays from 6 to 8 a.m. Central on WCPT 820 a.m., the Heartland Signal website. Tune in, YouTube, and Facebook. This is Doris Davenport filling in for Joan Esposito on Live, Local, and Progressive. Lady B is going to take us out to a break.
Out Chicago.
If you think of every single thing from the Supreme Court to deporting these poor immigrants who are just trying to work hard and feed their families and have a better life, to the trans community that was thrown under the bus, you just wonder, where will the hate, where will the fear end? And if you keep thinking about it, like I just mentioned, it's a nowhere street mentally.
Catch Out Chicago every Sunday, 11 to 1 on WCPT 820.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller from the Weatherology Weather Center. Partly cloudy tonight with a chance of scattered showers and storms. High of 75 degrees with southeast winds at 5 to 10. Saturday, chance of thunderstorms with a high temperature of 89 with southeast winds at 5 to 10 miles an hour. Sunday, chance of thunderstorms with a high of 84 degrees. Monday, chance of storms with a high of 90. Tuesday, chance of storms with a high temperature of 83 degrees. That's the latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 91.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
Now back to Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive on WCPT 820.
Mark, I hear you. You're not in Utah, but you got that Utah phone number still. So as long as you've got that area code there, I'm going to think you from Utah. But listen, thanks. If you guys want to text any message regarding the conversation that you're hearing, please feel free to do so at 773-763-9278. And those of you who have a question that you may want to ask on air after we get past that 4 o'clock hour, feel free to give us a call at 773-763-9278. This is WCPT, and my name is Doris Davenport. I am filling in for Joan Esposito here on Live, Local, and Progressive. Now, I do want to say we've got our text line and the phone line are both sponsored by the Credo mobile phone and text line. So again, that number is 773-763-9278. And WCPT listeners now get 25% off for 2 years at Credo Mobile with the code WCPT25. Credo Mobile, a progressive phone company that is better for all people and the planet. Visit credomobile.com. Welcome back to the Joan Esposito Show. Y'all, we've got a fire lit up in here. And we are not, I said it, we are not running for the water. We're going to let it burn, y'all. I'm speaking with Dante King. He's a university professor, author, human resource manager, and consultant. Now, just before the break, he was talking to us about a 16-week fellowship that he created so that people could better understand the book that he has written. And this is a book that I absolutely plan to go out and purchase. I'm a page turner. I like paper. I had to get it online to, come and develop some questions, but he's going to talk to us about the transformations that he sees or wants to see in people who commit to the journey of understanding those kinds of principles. Dante, the floor is yours.
So I thank you so much for this question. In the back of my book, I include a series of comments and feedback from past trainees, past students that have taken classes of courses that I've taught at various institutions, namely UCSF in San Francisco, University of California, San Francisco Medical School, and Mayo Clinic, as well as some other places where I've guest lectured. One comment says each session to date would take a look at a specific point in our past, focusing on laws, enforcement, and effects on both African Americans and their white counterparts. week over week, as we reviewed these facts, we heard from scholarly experts interpreting the effects these laws and historical events had on individuals and society. We also had frequent breakout sessions where we would learn of the details of a historical event and then discuss how there are parallels to the subject today. One going through this curriculum couldn't help but apply the lessons presented to the patterns seen today in our current events, both on the news and even within our organization and within our departments. As we left the 1600s to the 1700s and began to focus on the 1800s to present day, the curriculum highlighted the evolution of the wording of the laws passed and the entire nation's coordinated effort to basically accept that African Americans were quote-unquote free, but in a coordinated and intentioned way, ensure that African Americans structurally were limited in their ability to integrate into society and participate in American economy as a true equal to whites. That's one comment, right? But if I may elaborate briefly on what that person is pointing to, because it aligns with what you were mentioning previously that one of your guests had stated about reparations. Whenever I enter into a discussion around reparations, my starting point is not what was done to African people or people of predominantly African descent in terms of how they were enslaved, because that dates back to colonialism, right? But if we are talking about reparations paid by the U.S. government, and it should extend back to colonialism because the U.S. government did extend slavery, but we have to discuss, my reference point primarily for the reparations argument starts with giving black people citizenship. Because once black people were made citizens in this country by the 14th Amendment in 1868, you literally can see the American government, the Supreme Court, and state and levels, local and state legislatures and law enforcement bodies, legislatures and law enforcement bodies, working to systematically disenfranchise African Americans. For example, in 1873, referencing the Slaughterhouse case decided by the U.S. Supreme Court, they decided that the 13th and 14th Amendment, while it gave citizenship, while one made African Americans free and the other one gave citizenship, that it did not guarantee equal economic privileges to black people. So they begin to erode. They begin to erode the legislation that quote unquote provided this or bestowed this concept and idea of citizenship onto black people. If we fast forward just 3 years later, Crookshank v. United States. Well, actually, let me back up. In 1870 and 1871, the U.S. Congress passed two laws that were stated or intended to protect black people from terrorism from groups like the KKK, the Red Shirts, who were going around and trying to intimidate black citizens from exercising their newly given rights as citizens. Well, in 1876, in Crookshank v. United States, the Force Act of 1870 was overturned, and in 1883, in the case United States v. Harris, the Force Act of 1871, which was actually called the Ku Klux Klan Act, that law was overturned as well. And what did that do? That invited the larger white populace to go out and start lynching black people in mass. There is so much imagery and evidence and photography, and lynching iconography that we have access to, where people then economize this event of lynching, this process of lynching, and begin to sell postcards. Wilkerson mentions this in her book, but we have to understand, though, this was not just done as a casual, decision that was just made by white citizens. They were authorized by the United States Supreme Court. If we go to, for example, the ruling on public accommodations in 1883 that then overturned the public accommodations bill that was passed in 1875, there were 5 cases brought to the United States Supreme Court that demonstrated clear discrimination. I believe one of the cases was in New York, one of the cases was in San Francisco. Okay? This was all over. And the U.S. Supreme Court overturned the public accommodations, which opened the gate for the 1896 Plessy v. Ferguson separate but equal decision.
Preach.
Because in the 1883 decision, the Supreme Court Justice, I believe his last name was Taney, he decided, or I'm not sure if that's him or not, but one of the things that he went on record and stated in the 1883 decision was that it wasn't the Supreme Court's role to limit discrimination, even if it's based on race. That it wasn't their role to step in. That Congress should not have stepped in. And it wasn't Congress's role to outlaw acts of private discrimination. That's what he said. And so we have to understand that I believe people's relationship to what they believe or think the law is very remedial. Most people think of it as a fixture, as something that's going to that's something that is concrete and will remain in place as a tool that's going to protect them. That is not so, because for every law that we learn about that so and so that quote unquote led to some modicum of progress, I can point to a decision, and particularly decisions by the Supreme Court, that worked to erode those rights and privileges or other laws that were passed. So there's never been the types of progress that people I believe that the mainstream pushes. The mainstream pushes that, America has been this budding country that has worked toward progress throughout our evolution. That is not the case. And so whenever anyone brings forth an argument that look at what has been done for women, look at the progress that has occurred in the Black community, my question is always, what is your reference point? Because you're not comparing it. So in these scenarios where we say, look at all of the progress that has happened with women, compare that to the progress that's happened for men in this country, and you will come out with a different answer. If you talk about, look at all the progress that has been done in the Black community, compare that to the progress that has occurred in the white community.
That's right.
You will come out with a different answer. But those narratives are rooted in low standards that we have around what progress looks like for women and what progress looks like for Black and brown people.
Oh, but wait a minute.
Standards.
But the problem is that we have accepted that, okay? We have lowered our own standards for ourselves. I mean, when we talk about reparations, right, it's supposed to be about African Americans having the same tools, the same pathways, the same capital so that we can build prosperous futures, so that we can have security and know what that looks like. But, when we talk about equal citizenship, it's not just about rights on paper. That's why I love what you're saying. It's about real opportunities. I mean, for forever, for as long as I can remember, Black people, we have faced barriers to building wealth and stability where others haven't faced it. It's just the truth. When we talk about creating true economic opportunity, okay, that's supposed to mean opening doors to education. It's supposed to mean opening doors to home ownership. It's supposed to mean opening doors to fair wages, entrepreneurship, so that everybody has a chance to thrive. But listen, reparations is something we've been fighting for a long time as a way to close those gaps. We're not looking for a handout. We're looking for a way to finally, once and for all, level the playing field. But here we are. Here's my question, Dante. In your view, in light of everything I just said, what steps can we really take, whether it's business or education or policy, that would move us closer to creating those same economic opportunities for Black people if we don't get reparations? Because we're still fighting that fight we've been fighting for a long time. And just not to say we're just going to keep up the fight, because we will. What steps can we take to ensure it if we don't get it?
Well, I believe the American people, everyday people, should really stop focusing on the things that they believe divide us and come together and start, attempting to organize in meaningfully.
In the words of Reverend Willie Taplin Barrow, we are not as divided as we are disconnected. That's
right. I mean, people, I think ideology and the pathology of division it has just been embedded, but it's not just only embedded. It's forced, right? But it's been embedded throughout our entire cultural context. And I have often used the phrase, we've been organized into disorganization for the purposes of our oppression, all of us. Every single person who experiences oppression, that is even true for poor white people. So we've been organized into disorganization purposefully. And I think people have to become smarter about realizing, you know, what's at stake here and what's really and truly going on. Where Black people are concerned in this country, it is my view that America is a genocidal project where Black people are concerned. It began with exploiting the bodies of Black people. I mean, I'm not saying this is not anything new. James Baldwin made a similar claim. Malcolm X made a similar claim. You know, there are others.
But are we
for
still
example,
here?
But for example, right, when you say what is it that we can do, and especially around this idea of economic ascendance or improvement, when we go back into the 1920s, right? I'll just share just a few cases.
Sure.
The U.S. Supreme Court decided in Corrigan v. Buckley that racial restrictive covenants could be recognized by the courts across the country as legally binding documents, which enabled white developers to create properties and build whole neighborhoods where they decided that only whites could live in those properties. They were of better quality. They were surrounded by better resources, parks, healthy, livability. You also had that same year in Euclid v. Ambler, the court deciding that racial zoning ordinances, cities and locales could zone by race. And they believed at that time that they had the scientific evidence to prove that because Black people carry different diseases, Black people were morally and intellectually inferior, that scientifically it was in the best interest of white people for Blacks to live separate. That is why you had segregation in housing, segregation in education, because, again, you've got sociopathic narcissists who are projecting their feelings and impulses onto a different group of people and then using it to make both legal and economic decisions where this other group of people are concerned. And part of their thinking, as outlined in a book called Race, Traits, and Tendencies of the American Negro, that was written by Dr. Irving Fisher, who was a professor at Yale, and Dr. Madison Grant, who also taught at Yale, who was an anthropologist, in his book, The Passing of the Great Race, that came out in 1916. Part of the thinking was that scientifically, if we disenfranchise Blacks, we cut off their access to economic opportunities, we deprive them, we cut off their access to health care, that the Black problem would be taken care of by the year 2000. That's what they stated openly. And so understanding how science, how academia, anti-Blackness in science, anti-Blackness in academia, anti-Blackness where politics are concerned, legality, and the whole, context of this country, it has led me to understand that white people have the most hateful, ill intentions where Black people are concerned, and I believe that is true for women. But the caveat is that women can continue to produce babies. They can continue to produce the labor force of this country, and they can continue to reproduce the casualties of this country, because where Black and brown people are concerned, as we can see, you either end up doing agricultural or menial work, or you end up in private prisons where people are able to make a profit, and you can make money by investing in the stock market where incarceration is concerned, in industries that support the mass incarceration institutions of this country.
We are in school today, y'all. I have a thing that I talk about called Saturday school. When I was coming up, we had Saturday school. I come from Harlem, New York, and wherever there was a vacant lot, particularly in the Sugar Hill Zone, there was somebody on the corner teaching what you are preaching. And I just am so glad to have you here doing it today. And when we talk about these racially restrictive covenants that you're talking so eloquently about, they've been denied generations of Black families the chance to build wealth, right? Through home ownership. I think about the policies that have changed since we got our freedom. We like to celebrate Juneteenth, but do we really have a right to celebrate Juneteenth? Because I feel like, Juneteenth ought to be a day of work, okay? I think about what kind of policies we need today. I don't want to go to a barbecue on Juneteenth. I would like to be at a round table strategizing about what are the goals for this year so that we can think about, if we don't get the reparations, what kind of policies do we need to start undoing the harm that's been done to us, right? So I want to focus.
You need. Yeah, I'm sorry. I am enjoying my conversation. I'm really enjoying my conversation with you today. You are phenomenal.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
We need people who have humanity.
Yes.
To make humanistic decisions. And I agree with you because part of what you just provided an example of was what you said a moment ago, which is that we've been forced to accept low standards.
Yes.
And so I watched as a nation of people got happy because they were given a day of remembrance in commemoration for the end of slavery. Now, no reparations or anything of value came with it. We just are going to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
And everyone was just so happy and celebratory.
Get your dashiki out.
And I said to myself, this is the prime example of what I mean in terms of our forced acceptance of low standards, because getting a holiday that acknowledges the end of slavery, while that might be nice, I guess, to some people, it doesn't change anything at all. And we know by the statistics, when we look at American institutions, the people that are going to be able to benefit from Juneteenth as a holiday and take that day off are the non-essential workers who are predominantly white. Our supervisors and managers that work that may work from home or who may work in capacities where they are not essential workers that are front-facing. They're not client-served. So our bus drivers, our domestic workers who are predominantly Black and brown will be working.
That's
on
right.
Juneteenth.
Yes,
and so
you better
who
believe
benefited
it.
mostly from the passing of that legislation in the present day? And so it is my view, to your point, that we need people who have human souls. And I believe that this nation is doomed because the type of evil and hatred that this nation was founded upon, that does not end or make any exceptions. It doesn't make any exceptions where gender is involved. It doesn't make any exceptions where color is involved. And so I have many examples also embedded into my work that when white women and white men also went against the tenets of white supremacy, that they became casualties of it too. And we can see here with Donald Trump as our president, he has pointed to a number of white people who he has characterized as the enemy from within. Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff. So hatred knows no bounds. And so I believe this country is on its way to destruction because the tenets of white supremacy are selfishness, is extreme narcissism, as we spoke to earlier, and again, that makes no exceptions. And so once white people have dealt with trying to rid this country of all of its Black and brown people, it's going to turn inward.
It's going to turn inward. You know, he ain't told no lie, y'all. No, really, I believe that. I absolutely believe that. And as we wind this conversation down toward the top of the hour, I just want to say that our conversations moving forward have to be more inclusive of solutions, right? Because we all know that we can talk about the state of affairs till the cows come home. And there are three things that I have been thinking about. One is something that we look at Evanston up on the north side of Illinois. And I think about targeted housing and down payment assistance, programs that provide first-time Black homeowners with grants or low-interest loans. There are some cities like Evanston that's piloting that program. I look at community land trusts and shared equity housing as a possible solution. I look at fair housing enforcement and anti-displacement policies. These are things that I think about when I ask, what kind of steps can we take on the policy level in lieu of receiving reparations? Doesn't mean we need to stop that fight, but it has to be a both and approach, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we also have to monitor, to your point, the enforcement of these policies.
Yes. What would you like to leave the listeners with today, Dante? Because my word, I want some homework.
Well, people often, project onto me that I am, spreading hatred or trying to be divisive, and that is not the case at all.
Why? Because we talk about the problems and the reality of our lives, because we are telling the truth about what we deal with every day, because I have to wake up and carry the burdens of the world and insulate myself and come up with coping mechanisms to deal with people who want to beat me down every day.
Right. But most people don't want to hear from that or hear about that because it inconveniences them and it disrupts their comfort.
I see.
And so what I want to leave people with is that is my goal is to educate people and to invite people to take a look at your own history, your own self, your own feelings, and not project anything onto me. Everything that I'm saying can be backed up just by if you go to state archives, the federal archives, colonial state-level statutes, local ordinances, juridical decisions. So you don't have to point the finger at me, but if you are interested in following my work, please go to DanteKing.com. Again, that's DanteKing.com, DanteKing.com. And I look forward to, potentially meeting and or connecting with some of your listeners because my goal is to educate people and to invite us to engage in meaningful, collaborative, responsible, healthy discussion.
I love all of that, Dante. It is my pleasure. Absolute pleasure, Dante King. I want to thank you for joining me today. This has been wonderful. Thank you so much. We will do this again for sure. My name is Doris Davenport. I'm filling in for Joan Esposito on Live, Local, and Progressive. And I tell you, we have been having some conversations. This time goes by so fast. It is already 4 o'clock just about, folks. But guess what? It's time to have some fun. We've got a contest going on. There is a contest next Saturday, August 23rd. 12-time Grammy Award-winning artist John Legend. Okay, Lady B, let me pull out my John Legend pictures after this contest reading. John Legend will be bringing his signature soul and storytelling to Ravinia for a special night, honoring the 20th anniversary of his debut album, Get Lifted. Don't miss this once-in-a-lifetime concert experience as Legend takes Ravinia audiences on a journey through the music that started it all and can get you tickets at ravinia.org. Or you can call in right now, and win a pair of pavilion seats valued at $215 each. We'll take the second caller at 773-763-9278. That's right, I'll say it again. That's 773-763-WCPT. 773-763-9278. If I wasn't on the air, I'd be calling in. The contests running on WCPT 820 are open to listeners 18 or older and residents of the greater Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana area. 1 entry per person, 1 winner per household. Void where prohibited by law. Listeners may only win or qualify to win every 30 days. Complete rules are available on our website at WCPT820.com by clicking the contest tab. This is Doris Davenport filling in for Joan Esposito on Live, Local, and Progressive. We'll be back on the other side of this break with would-be Congressman LaShawn Ford.
Excuse me, miss. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Can you recommend a bank that offers a full suite of commercial banking products along with excellent service?
Yes, ABOC.
What about a bank that has been in Chicago for more than 100 years and really understands the local business climate?
ABOC.
But I manage a labor union. Can you recommend a bank that really understands how labor unions operate and what banking products they need?
Again, ABOC. ABOC first opened its doors in downtown Chicago in 1922 and understands the local business climate better than anyone. ABOC was founded by labor unions and still has union employees and shareholders today, so they really understand how unions tick and how their needs may be different. But whether you're with a labor union or another type of business, whether you're large or small or something in between, ABOC will always make you feel like you're their most important customer. Visit ABOC.com to learn more.
Wow, thank you, random person on the street. I'm going to visit ABOC.com today.
Member FDIC.
Are you looking to hire? ZipRecruiter finds the best candidate for your job fast. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
AP News, I'm Haya Panjwani. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin have greeted each other like old friends before starting talks on the Ukraine war. AP correspondent Sagar Meghani.
They warmly shook hands. And as they walked a red carpet at an Alaska military base, B-2 and F-22 aircraft flew overhead, jets designed to oppose Russia during the Cold War.
President Putin, will you stop killing civilians?
The leaders ignored questions before climbing into America's presidential limo. Putin had a grin on his face as they rolled to their meeting space.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Where they again did not take questions before starting hours of talks with top aides that could reshape the war and relations between their own countries. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Tropical weather is making its way towards the Caribbean. AP's Jennifer King.
Tropical storm Erin has strengthened into a hurricane as it tracks towards the Leeward Islands.
It's now upgraded to a hurricane, the first of the 2025 season.
National Hurricane Center Director Jamie Rome.
Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, Northern Leeward Islands, you got to be mindful of the flood risk.
Forecasters say Erin has been gaining strength as it tracks westward over warm Atlantic waters. Tropical storm watches have been issued for parts of the Leeward Islands, including Antigua and St. Martin. Rome says Erin is forecast to take a sharp turn northeast. High waves and dangerous surf are expected to affect the East Coast and especially the Carolinas next week.
That wave energy will move towards the East Coast of the United States and create a huge rip current risk.
I'm Jennifer King.
New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell was indicted on federal conspiracy, fraud, and obstruction charges. That's based on accusations that she tried to hide a romantic relationship with her bodyguard, who was paid as if he was working. This is AP News. The NCAA has levied penalties against a marquee Big Ten program over a high-profile cheating scandal. Correspondent Gethin Kulba.
The NCAA has fined Michigan football tens of millions of dollars and suspended coach Sharon Moore for 3 games in a sign-stealing scandal. Committee on Infractions Chief Hearing Officer Norman Bay.
The intent was clear, to gain a substantial competitive advantage.
The NCAA's investigation began in 2023. Committee Chair Kay Norton says the panel decided against vacating wins.
There was insufficient evidence in the record that the outcome of games was affected.
Moore also received a 2-year show cause order. Connor Stallions received an 8-year show cause order, while former coach Jim Harbaugh faces a 10-year show cause order. I'm Gethin Kulba.
I'm Haya Panjwani, AP News.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller from the Weatherology Weather Center. Partly cloudy tonight with a chance of scattered showers and storms. High of 75 degrees with southeast winds at 5 to 10. Saturday, chance of thunderstorms with a high temperature of 89 with southeast winds at 5 to 10 miles an hour. Sunday, chance of thunderstorms with a high of 84 degrees. Monday, chance of storms with a high of 90. Tuesday, chance of storms with a high temperature of 83 degrees. That's the latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 91.
Remember when you get to work to hop over to WCPT820.com or the TuneIn Radio app and stream The Stephanie Miller Show. Weekdays 8 to 11 a.m. on Chicago's Progressive Talk, where facts matter. Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive.
Quite frankly, I get most of my news from you.
Joan Esposito.
Y'all ready for this?
On WCPT 820.
And welcome back to Live, Local, and Progressive here on WCPT. My name is Doris Davenport, and I am filling in for Joan Esposito. Very happy to be here. We're going to have a wonderful conversation here with an old friend of mine who is about your business. That's right. He is about your business. Elected in 2007 to the Illinois House of Representatives, representing the 8th District, Representative LaShawn K. Ford is an outspoken advocate for his constituents. Representative Ford is focused on social justice and disparities in employment, education, and the healthcare system. He has also worked to increase opportunities for sex offenders, foster small business development, improve access to affordable housing, expand protections for our veterans, safeguard our environment, and address our state's fiscal health. LaShawn is a firm believer in the power of responsible parenting and established the Council on Responsible Fatherhood, which aims to support fathers and help them to become more responsible and present. LaShawn consistently advocates for increased access to financial resources and institutions for marginalized communities and promotes the value of education among students in his district. His own upbringing defines his philosophy as a public servant. Born to an unwed teen mother in the Cabrini Green housing projects, LaShawn Ford never knew his father and was adopted by his grandmother. He learned the value of hard work at a young age, earning money for his family by shoveling snow, mowing lawns, collecting bottles and cans for recycling, and stocking produce in the local grocery store. His drive to help people at an early age earned him the moniker of the Alderman in Chicago's West Side Austin community. LaShawn was the first member of his family to attend a 4-year college after attending Weber High School. He graduated from Loyola University, where he played basketball and earned a Bachelor of Science degree in education and a minor in political science. I tell you, joining us is State Representative LaShawn Ford, a lifelong Chicagoan, former teacher, small business owner, and a proven champion for equity, education, justice, and opportunity on the West Side and beyond. First elected, as I said, in 2006, he built a track record of delivering real results, from expanding access to mental health services that we talked about earlier in the program and supporting reentry programs for formerly incarcerated individuals to increasing affordable housing and advocating for underserved students. Now, with Congressman Danny Davis's endorsement, LaShawn K. Ford is stepping up to represent Illinois in the U.S. Congress, bringing both heart and experience to work on behalf of working families nationwide. I bring you my friend, LaShawn K. Ford. Hello there.
Hey, how you doing? Thank you so much for that.
This is how we do it.
Yeah, I definitely want to make sure that I say thanks for the airtime and give big ups to Joan Esposito for picking such a great substitute for her actions.
Oh, well, you know, she's left big shoes to fill, so I appreciate that. I'm honored to be sitting in her seat for a little bit. Listen, Representative Ford, you have spent nearly 2 decades fighting for education, for justice and opportunity in Springfield, and now you're asking voters to send you to Washington. What do you see people want to know as the most urgent issues facing your district And how will your experience help you deliver on them as a congressman?
Well, Doris, I would say the most pressing issue for America and for the 7th Congressional District is preserving our democracy. And people must understand that that's just not cliche. It is real. When you look at our democracy under attack, you know, even if you want to protect and save Medicaid and Medicare and Social Security, protect the voting rights, and have funding for housing and homeless prevention and protect those that struggle with substance use disorder, you can't do any of that if you don't have a structure of democracy. So that is so paramount, making sure that we are able to preserve and fight for our democracy so that we can fight for Medicare and Medicaid for the most vulnerable in our communities.
You write about that. And what would that look like? Is it about voting rights, government accountability? Is there something else you think Washington ought to be doing?
Oh, my goodness. I think that Washington should really focus on voting and representing the people that send them to Washington.
Representation.
And yes, that's what it's all about. I mean, when you think about it, we have 3 congressional members in Washington right now that represent Republican districts. You have LaHood, which is a U.S. congressman that's Republican. You have Representative Boss, who I served with in the House of Representatives, that's a Republican. And then you have Representative Miller, whose husband I serve with right now in the House. All 3 of them voted for the big bill that President Trump wanted. And they represent people that need Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, substance use disorder treatment. And so we have to make sure that when we go to the ballot boxes and before we go, we send a message that we are going to vote in our best interest.
That's so important. That is so important that we send people to Washington who represent our best interest, because we know, I mean, you see it time and time again. We hear about all the things that we need. We're out there fighting and we're marching. And yet sometimes what I hear people saying is, what's changing? What is really changing? And now, with a lot of people looking at the Democratic Party as maybe not as strong internally, because it's hard to point to who is really leading the Democratic Party, what are we going to do to get people out, get them interested? Because apathy is so strong right now.
I think when we feel the wrath of this Trump administration and the Republicans, it's going to unite the country together more than we've ever been. Because when you take things away from people that they are used to having, like health care, where you used to be able to go get prostate screenings and mammograms and health care, preventative care, and then the government takes it away, that's not going to be good. When you have people that are fighting for to keep their Social Security benefits and they can no longer have their Social Security disability benefits, that's going to unite us against a government that's working against us. When you have a government that totally disregards the Constitution, when you try and redistrict gerrymandering, I call it criminal gerrymandering, what they're doing in Texas.
Oh, yes.
And, you know, in Illinois, we don't have a commission, but we have a process that goes through a whole system of hearings, and people are brought to the forefront to dispute and help reshape the map to make it as close to acceptable as possible. In this case, this president and the Republicans are saying, no, we're just going to shape the map. We're going to totally violate the Voters' Right Act that protects individuals that have representation in our government. So you're going to take your own judgment, and you're going to draw black districts, and you're going to draw those black people out. And you're going to turn them into white Republican districts. That's against the Voters' Right Act that have led our democracy for so long. So people will see that Democrats have done a lot as they see how the Republicans are rolling back the gains.
I want you to talk a little bit more about the importance of representation, because when what you just said is so critically important. I mean, the danger of what they're doing, it's not just once districts are rigged, voters, we start to feel like our voices don't matter. And that is the point, right? It's not just lines on a map. It's a theft of representation.
It is. I mean, because there's no way individuals in the Chicago area will vote to allow for the big bill that the president passed, because they know the value of health care. They know the value of SNAP benefits. This process that we are seeing in Washington right now is focused on Robin Hood, where you're robbing the poor and the middle class and the working class, and you're taking all of the safety net programs away.
Yes.
And you're using that money to give tax breaks to the billionaires. Mm-hmm. And you're going to make them trillionaires.
And we're going to make them trillionaires. Do you all hear what we are being told by our wonderful state representative? He is warning us, telling us what people don't always see about gerrymandering, that it's not just about political maps, it's about stripping communities of real representation. And people, this is why we need somebody like LaShawn Ford in Washington. He's got energy. He's got passion. He's got solutions. And you know what else, you all? He's got experience and a track record of success for being a strong representative of his constituents. And those are the kinds of people that we want in Washington, D.C. Not just people who can talk, not just people who can walk, not people who've got friends. Well, yeah, you got to have some friends because, it takes so many votes to get a law passed. But we need people with courage. And LaShawn Ford has that courage. We know when people's voices are silenced, he's talking about the resources and the benefits that ought to be flowing to those neighborhoods. And what he just told us is that if we're not standing up to put people like him in, those benefits are going to roll away. They're going to be taken away. They're going to be stolen. And funding for schools and health care. We have got to have the resources. It's people's daily lives that are suffering. LaShawn, what are the key pillars of your campaign?
Well, once again, with this administration, it's definitely preserving and protecting our democracy so that we can have that foundation. But look, I have been a chair of higher ed appropriations where I was the appropriator of $3 billion annually for our higher ed space, which means that I have spent or budgeted for MAP funding to make college more affordable. Mm-hmm. So we need to make sure that when we go to Washington that we do everything that we can to make college affordable. How do we think that our economy and our workforce is going to grow if people are not able to go to college?
Right.
So this administration already has said that they're going to be cutting opportunities for student loans for individuals that need it. That's going to cut people out of the American dream of going to college. So that's part of the platform. We also know that from years of being in office that the criminal justice system is still what you call somewhat unbalanced, and it's still causing permanent punishment on many American lives.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just black people. It's people all over this country that need a real clean slate so that they can actually have opportunity to be productive citizens and taxpayers and not tax burdens. So, and healthcare, you know, my good friend and your friend, Camille Lilly, Leader Lilly, will tell you, if you don't have your health, you don't have nothing at all.
Nothing. That's right. She's known for that. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And, you know, President Obama and the Democrats, they fought to have Medicaid for those that actually ordinarily wouldn't have health care, like men and women without children. You wouldn't be able to qualify for health care because before Obama, there was no health care, preventative health care. You may go to county hospitals and you can do emergency room care, but we're going to fight to make sure that we protect preventive care and make sure that people have the right to live long, healthy lives.
Well, this administration has already said they want to roll that back.
They want to roll it back. And not only are they taking away physical health, but during a time that it's so stressful, they're taking away mental health services for people.
Unbelievable.
Veterans. You know, it's really devastating what's happening. And it's right before our very eyes that they're shifting wealth to the wealthy at the expense of all of us. And it's harmful. And I tell you, people will die from this administration's cruelty.
It is cruel. It's cruel. And Mr. Ford is not just talking. I mean, he's talking from experience because he's been a member of the Illinois delegation for some time now. He's a member of the Medicaid Managed Care Oversight Task Force. So when he talks a lot about Medicare, it's because he spends his time entrenched in that subject, making sure that it is protected on every level. You know I'm one of your founding members of your West Side Opioid Task Force, which I'm so proud of watching you grow this. It's amazing. You know, LaShawn convenes. I was at one meeting and literally there were a line of 30 top doctors, all eager to participate under LaShawn Ford's leadership. If I think about how you've prioritized coverage for mental health and substance abuse, what would your top priorities be in Congress to ensure that mental health services are accessible? And, we
have to make sure that we have parity in healthcare, where you have the same access to mental health as you do for physical health. And we need to make sure that that happens in Illinois. And we passed some bills in Springfield to try to get to that point of parity, but it's still not there yet. And we have to make sure that we grow our professions. And that's why it's very harmful and dangerous for this administration and the Republicans to cut funding to colleges, because we need to grow our psychiatrists and psychologists to help us fight, and social workers to help us fight and treat people with mental health challenges. But we're not going to be able to do it if we can't get people to go to college and have diverse populations in these spaces. So we're going to fight to make sure that we protect and bring more mental and behavioral health into our communities. The other part that's critical, Illinois is what you call a donor state. All of our taxes that we send out of our paychecks to Washington, we get a small percentage back. The rest of the money goes to other states. And we need to make sure that we fight with our congressional delegation and the state delegation to bring more of our federal tax dollars back home.
Yes.
That's going to help us.
Is that something that this administration is fighting right now? Having those...
This is something that has been always the case. Illinois has been a donor state for as long as I know, and that means that we get less money back from our federal taxes. So we definitely have to do that because that helps the state, the county, and the counties, and other municipalities with their budgets, because we definitely don't have to always rely on raising taxes to help the states and the counties' budgets when you bring more federal money back.
You know, and also I've been wondering with this, you know, with the Republicans dominating the House and the Senate, when you talk about safeguarding Medicaid and the impact that has on all of our vulnerable communities, I know how vocal you've been about opposing all of the federal cuts to Medicaid, you know, because it would strip the coverage for nursing home residents. Anybody?
Oh, my goodness. I'm glad you brought that up. Yes.
Yeah. People, and even people facing homelessness, right?
Yes.
What kind of, I mean, if I look at Congress now, even a lot of those Republicans have vulnerable communities in their districts. How effective do you think you can be in persuading them to even be a good representative for the vulnerable people in their own districts, which would help them support some of your initiatives?
Well, you know, I know some of my most tough bills that I passed in Springfield, I was able to reach across the aisle and get Republicans to vote with. And so my very first bill that I passed is ban the box.
Ban the box.
And it was to take away you know about it, take away that question off the application. I needed 60 votes. And the 60th vote was a Republican. He voted for it. So I think that I'm not one that could say that I'm just very persuasive, but I know I'd have relationships and go out and invite people to your district so that they can understand and just educate and try to take away the politics from issues and make it more about real people. That's the way it has to work.
Yeah, this is so important. And for those of you who don't know that ban the box, this was the box referred to the checkbox on a job application that asks, have you ever been convicted of a crime? And Shawn Ford, I mean, that was his bill, and so many of us supported him on that, and he won it. Ban the box laws prohibit employers from asking about criminal history on initial job applications because we know a lot of us get railroaded. You know, it's an unfair question because the people that are asking it probably have 5 boxes checked that nobody knows about. Come on now. You all know.
And the person is reformed. The person it could be reformed, but once you get that, check that box, you don't even get your foot in the door.
That's right. You don't even get your foot in the door. And that is something that we do not want to see our folks have to deal with. You have been out there active, fighting for so long. I don't know how many opponents have come out now. How many people are running in your race?
You know, in the 7th Congressional District, I think that we've seen about 9 people that have announced that they're going to be running. And of the 9, I don't think any of the 9 will have all of the Illinois congressional delegation's phone numbers, starting from the senator and the senators and the representatives. I've been in their offices. I've worked with them, and we continue to have that relationship. So that's going to be huge to be able to have a working relationship with many congressional members now. Many have called to congratulate me and said they're looking forward to making sure that we work together so that you don't miss a beat as a new member. So that's great.
That's important going in. And just for the record, you have my support.
Thank you.
I just wish I was in the district because, I'm one of those super petition signers. I would have been out there getting all kinds of signatures. But
yes, thank you.
This is so great. I appreciate you for taking the time for us, Representative Ford. You shared your vision, your commitment with us, and as you step forward from nearly 2 decades in Springfield to this race for Congress, with Congressman Danny Davis's endorsement behind you, you've made it clear that protecting our democracy, expanding health care, opening doors of opportunity, these are all at the center of your campaign. We so appreciate your time and your energy. We will be watching closely as you make the case for new leadership in Washington. You are always welcome here on WCPT, and you can always count on my support.
Well, thank you very much. And let me just say that tomorrow, Congressman Davis will be having his 30th anniversary for his parade. I think that it would be great if people come out and celebrate it. We're going to meet at West Bloomingdale Avenue, and we're going to go all the way to Columbus Park, and we're going to celebrate back to school and give away school supplies and have a good time. Congressman Davis is working hard on this, so thank you very much.
You are so welcome, and thank you. We will talk again very soon.
Have a good one, Doris.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Now, you all get out there and go to that Congressman Davis's parade because it's a good one. And when the parade ends and everybody winds up in Douglas Park, do you know what I spend my time doing? Because I will not go to a picnic or a barbecue if these two things are not offered. Hula hoop and double dutch. That's what I'm talking about. Come on, Lady B. Hula hoop and double dutch. Now, that's what I call a picnic or a barbecue, right? That's when we know we're really having a good time. Listen, folks, I want to talk to you about something. We've got candidate interviews. We're coming up on a midterm election, and that is something we want you to focus your attention on. The 2026 midterm election may be 15 months away, but WCPT has already begun interviewing candidates and posting the audio on the website. Visit heartlandsignal.com/candidates to hear and share the latest interviews, including Richard Chu's interview this morning with Michigan candidate for governor Garland Gilchrist, and the conversations Patty Vasquez had last night with Iowa candidates for U.S. Senate and governor. And Joan will still be interviewing LaShawn Ford coming up in the future, so this interview does not preempt that. It will make it to the pages as well. Find the candidate interviews tab at the top of our website, heartlandsignal.com. Listen to Live Local and Progressive live weekdays from 2 to 5 p.m. at 8:20 a.m. on TuneIn from heartlandsignal.com, or tell Alexa to play WCPT from TuneIn. Lady B's going to take us out to a break, and we will be right back. This is Doris Davenport filling in for Joan Esposito.
Is your upper floor too hot in the summer? Are energy bills climbing with every degree? Green Attic can help. With over 15 years of experience and more than 1,000 five-star reviews, Green Attic is a trusted Chicagoland name for insulation, ventilation, and roofing solutions that improve comfort, energy efficiency, and indoor air quality. They specialize in attic insulation, spray foam, crawl space encapsulation, mold remediation, and solar attic fan installation, all designed to keep your home cooler in the warmer months. Green Attic also offers full-service roofing through Green Attic Roofing, including traditional and solar roofing systems with instant online quotes and long-lasting, eco-friendly materials. Green Attic backs its work with the industry's only 10-year labor warranty, plus lifetime warranties on selected materials. Schedule a free installation consultation at greenattic.com or get an instant roofing quote at greenatticroofing.com. That's greenattic.com and greenatticroofing.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
I'm Jessica Ettinger, CNBC. A record-setting day on Wall Street today. The Dow hit a new intraday record high. Before pulling back from that, it did close in the green. Retail sales for last month came in below expectations, but consumers are still spending, although they don't like it. Consumer sentiment tanked. The S&P 500 index was lower today, but it logged its second weekly gain. Let's take a look at the numbers. The Dow closed higher by 34 points, led higher by shares of United Health. They were up almost 12% today on word. Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway has taken a stake in the beleaguered health insurance company. The S&P 500 index was down 18 points, pulling back from the record high it opened with. The NASDAQ was down 87 points today. NVIDIA shares were down 0.8%. Jessica Ettinger.
Hear the CNBC business updates each weekday at 9:30, 12:30, and 4:30. Now your WCPT 820 Chicago weather update.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller from the Weatherology Weather Center. Partly cloudy tonight with a chance of scattered showers and storms. High of 75 degrees with southeast winds at 5 to 10. Saturday, chance of thunderstorms with a high temperature of 89 with southeast winds at 5 to 10 miles an hour. Sunday, chance of thunderstorms with a high of 84 degrees. Monday, chance of storms with a high of 90. Tuesday, chance of storms with a high temperature of 83 degrees. That's the latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 91.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
Don't turn that dial. Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive, returns right now.
A fair balance where the facts come out.
On WCPT 820.
And welcome back to Live, Local, and Progressive. This is Doris Davenport, the host of the Doris Davenport Show, filling in for Joan Esposito. If you're struggling to make your mortgage, auto, and credit card payments, you're not alone and need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. During the first quarter of 2025, more than 12% of credit card accounts, approximately 5% of auto loans, and nearly 1% of mortgages are nearly more than 90 days past due, which is the highest in the past 15 years. If you're having challenges making your payments, the best time to contact Team Hochberg is today, not tomorrow, not next week, and not next year. Team Hochberg, now 855-563-2843 for a free consultation. Call for an experienced Team Hochberg mortgage professional. If you qualify, Team Hochberg will help you consolidate your debt, enhance your credit, and reduce your monthly payments. Team Hochberg helped thousands of WCPT listeners, but they can't help if you don't call 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com. That's 56david.com. That number again is 855-563-2843, and the website you know and love, 56david.com, lower.com, equal housing lender, NMLS 1124061. This is Doris Davenport filling in for Joan Esposito. We're on Live, Local, and Progressive on WCPT, the Heartland Signal. This has been a wonderful time, Lady B. It has been absolutely fantastic. We're going to open up the phone lines. We've had guests for the last 2.5 hours. Call us now here at 773-763-9278. I'd like to hear what you have to say about the subjects we've talked about today. We started off with WCPT's own Turi Ryder She joined me in the studio for 15 minutes, and I'm still smiling about those 15 minutes. We had us a good old sister girl time, and I like that. And then my girlfriend Delmarie Cobb called in because, you know, she is one who just sits with royalty, all the leaders in the Democratic Party from across the country and the world. She is convening them with Ida's legacy. And then my friend Alexis Roston, actor, playwright, director. She called us to talk about her husband starring in the play he wrote called Twisted Melodies that she assisted my sweetheart, Ronald J. Parson, direct. And I want you all to know he is in rehearsal right now for a big show called Big White Fog that's going to open at Court Theater at the University of Chicago this September. You want to stay tuned for that. And then we spent the 3 o'clock hour with none other than university professor and author Dante King. And did Dante King bring the goods? Oh, my goodness. He has really got us thinking and drooling. We want more. And we just finished our conversation with LaShawn Ford, who is running for U.S. Congress in the seat currently held by Danny Davis, who has supported him, who has endorsed him. And I tell you, I believe every member of the Illinois delegation has endorsed LaShawn Ford as well. He's on his way to Washington, y'all, but he can't get there without your vote. We need that. So please support him. Look up his website, LaShawnFord.com. You want to go there. Check him out. We are opening the phone line, 773-763-9278. And in the meantime, I want to talk about what you want to talk about, but while I wait for you, what I want to do is spend some time talking about some of the cultural musicals that we have coming to Chicago. And of course, I am talking about the shows that are coming in via Broadway in Chicago. Broadway in Chicago, where I'm a PR account executive, I'm telling you, these are some fantastic shows. Parade, which really, if you want to see Parade, you've got a small window of opportunity because it's going to close on the 17th. It's not going to be extended. It's got to get out of here. And it's been jam-packed every night. So you want to make sure you get your tickets to see Parade. Parade is one of those shows that it's going to move you. There's no way that you can go and see Parade and not be moved. It's a winner of the 2023 Tony Award for Best Revival of a Musical. It's proclaimed as a work of art, commanding as any musical revival to hit Broadway in years. It's based on a true story. Leo and Lucille Frank, a newlywed Jewish couple struggling to make life in the old Red Hills of Georgia. So check it out. You can check out any of these plays at BroadwayInChicago.com. And another show that is here right now is MJ the Musical. I've already seen it 3 times this week. I am the local publicist for Broadway in Chicago handling MJ the Musical. And I'm telling you, it is really all that. It's a 4-time Tony Award-winning hit. It's a riveting adrenaline rush, said the Washington Post. The New York Times said MJ delivers the thrills. Chicago Tribune said utterly electrifying. Chicago Sun-Times said it's a jaw-dropping spectacle. And I want you to know, it's backed by overwhelming demand. We launched the tour 2 years ago with a spectacular red carpet experience. It was phenomenal. All the bells and whistles. It's, again, the multi-Tony Award-winning musical MJ that has made its victorious return to Chicago. It's created by Tony Award-winning director and choreographer Christopher Wheeldon, who all of you know, and 2-time Pulitzer Prize winner Lynn Nottage. Honey, that's a sister girl that's busy. She tells the stories. And when you watch this program, they don't avoid anything. It's the way the story is told. You don't walk away. From the beginning, they come out with the songs. And it's understanding. You walk out having a heart for Michael, feeling and understanding what he went through. It goes beyond his singular moves and signature sound, and it offers a rare glimpse into the making of the 1992 Dangerous World Tour. Right now, It's electrifying sold-out crowds on Broadway in cities across America, London's West End, Hamburg, Germany, and Sydney, Australia. That's right, there are tours in all those places. So check out MJ, the musical. I don't know how many of our listeners were out in Millennium Park on Monday night, August 11th. That was the night where Broadway in Chicago had their annual summer concert. They had to close the park. Do you know what causes the park to be closed? 10,000 people. That's right. You could look out and see 10,000 people with their blankets and dinner and wine. And oh, it was just a beautiful sight. We had 12 shows fly people in, their cast members, to sing a song and give the audience a preview of what's ahead. Now, here's a fun show. It's one that you may not understand, but I promise you, you will have such a good time. It's called 20-Sided Tavern. It's playing at the Broadway Playhouse. And it is really an opportunity for you to interact with the actors that are on stage. It's direct from New York City. It's the second time it's come to Chicago. It's a global phenomenon. And you know, we've got a lot of listeners, I believe, that are into Dungeons and Dragons. Well, this is Dungeons and Dragons live on stage in an experience that nerdists call rip-roaring funny. Truly a wonder to behold. It's an interactive fantasy adventure where you choose the heroes, battle the monsters, and help 3 adventures on an epic quest to save the world. I have not laughed so much. I mean, it is funny. Go see 20-Sided Tavern. And I tell you, something I'm really excited about coming to Chicago. Who here does not love Alicia Keys? When Alicia Keys first came out, I said, Grammy, Grammy. And what did she do? She won 6. Her first time out. Well, she has produced a play called Hell's Kitchen, loosely based on her life growing up in Hell's Kitchen. It's coming to Chicago, y'all, November 11th through November 30th. It's going to be playing at the James M. Nederlander Theater. And Friday, the show announced nationally Maya Drake, who's going to be playing Allie, as she's called in the show, the character of Alicia Keys. And Saturday morning, she sang at the VIP breakfast for the Bud Billiken Parade, and my goodness, that girl has got some talent. When Jose Sanders interviewed her at the concert, he said, well, tell us, how are you doing today? And she said, this girl is on fire. Of course, she sounded much better than I do because I'm not a singer. But then she sang on Sunday at the Apostolic Church of God, a beautiful rendition of the goodness of God. You all don't want to miss Hell's Kitchen. Hell's Kitchen is a journey with Allie, a 17-year-old girl full of fire, searching for freedom, passion, and her place in the world. Along the way, you'll meet the music mentor who changes her life, her dynamic family, and the neighborhood that helps her grow relatable, raw, and refreshingly fun. Come on out and see Hell's Kitchen. It's going to be a great show. A Magical Cirque Christmas, November 25th through November 30th at the CIBC Theater. We all love something like a Cirque du Soleil. Magical Cirque Christmas, it's a dazzling holiday variety show. It captivates your audience. It bursts with charm, laugh-out-loud comedy. It's heartwarming magic, high-flying spectacle showcases. Come on out, you all, and see the fun with a magical Cirque Christmas. And you all, a favorite of mine from childhood, The Sound of Music. The Sound of Music is coming to the Nederlander Theater October 21st through November 2nd. You don't have to bring your kids if you don't want to because it's nostalgic, but they're going to be mad if you don't. For 65 years, The Sound of Music has been one of our favorite things with its timeless story. It's got an irresistibly charming score. You all know Rodgers and Hammerstein. They do it up with the classics. It's meant to be shared, and it's a critically acclaimed North American tour, directed by 3-time Tony Award winner Jack O'Brien, who is behind many people's favorite, Hairspray. Come on out, y'all. We've got to sing it together. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. Come on out to The Sound of Music. And then, do you know what I want you to do? I want you to buy your tickets for The Lion King. The Lion King is coming to the Cadillac Palace Theater October 3rd through October 19th. And oh my goodness, when you see the giraffes strut and the birds swoop, the gazelles leap, the entire Serengeti comes to life like you have never seen it before. It is going to be dazzling. Pride Rock slowly emerges from the midst. Do you know, Lady B, that more than 100 million people around the world have seen The Lion King? It is amazing. People, I don't care how many times I see it. I love it. I always want to see it. The Book of Mormon is coming to CIBC. That's another favorite of so many people. They want to see it over and over again. Rocky Mountain High Experience, a John Denver Christmas, coming in December. And Christmas with C.S. Lewis, coming to the Broadway Playhouse at Water Tower Place, December 16th through the 21st. And C.S. Lewis, it's a wonderful, believed story of Christ's birth, and he does such a great job of it. So go to BroadwayInChicago.com and take a look at all of the offerings that we have. You don't want to miss anything that is coming here to Chicago. So, folks, we have had a good half an hour. And I want you to know that Joan Esposito misses you. I know you miss Joan. I wish I had a chance to have her here and just have a little short conversation with her. But she is on a well-deserved vacation, I hope. They didn't tell me why she was out, but I know Joan, she's somewhere having some fun. Well-deserved fun, because she's here for you every day. My name is Doris Davenport. Doris Davenport is the host of the Doris Davenport Show. I'm so happy to have spent this time with you. Turi, Ryder, can't wait to talk to you again. Delmarie Cobb, what a wonderful, wonderful time we had. Alexis Roston, I love you, girl. Keep up the good work. Can't wait to see the show you're in. Dante King, That's just all I have to say about that. And LaShawn Ford, we absolutely want you to get out to vote. Whoever is your choice, and I do hope it is LaShawn Ford, because LaShawn Ford is my choice. He will be the one I will be encouraging people to vote for. And I want you to please. Oh, not my girl. Oh, we got to make time for Pam. Pam is on the line. Pam, hello, my sister.
Hello, my dear Doris. It is so good to hear your voice. It is so good to hear you. I'm sorry I'm just now able to call, but I wanted to say hello. And Doris, appreciate your passion in all things that you do, but especially the theater. Very much appreciate you. So I just wanted to make a couple of comments, if I may.
Please do. Yes, you may.
I am in the 7th Congressional District, so I have a true love and respect for Congressman Davis.
Amen.
And his endorsements matter to me because he's done the work and he's worked in the community and brought so many resources.
Yes, he has.
So I do trust his judgment in Representative LaShawn Ford. I've had some interaction with him, and he's very much of the people. And then also, Doris, I tend to like the fact, I like having elected officials with a background in education, community organizing, and social work. I'm kind of partial to those. Not to say that other professions can't, elevate to that.
Well,
but
what
I'm
is it
kind of
about
partial.
those three? What is it about those three professions particularly that you feel make an effective elected official?
Sure, because it is all about trying to somehow help people and just make people aware and bring services to people. I mean, and I've done work in each area, And so I think when you have that kind of compassion for people, you really want to help people. I believe that carries over to, your elected official capacity. Now, that's just my thinking and my belief. And that's what I've seen from those in politics who have that background, that they've done the work with the people and are community-driven to do the best. So I am supporting Representative LaShawn Ford, and I believe he will represent the 7th Congressional District in its totality. So they're working class, but then there's also the wealthy part of the district, and I think he won't favor either. He'll offer balance. But most importantly, Doris, he's going to help protect us against what's going on in that White House administration right now.
Say that. And that's what we need. We need people in Washington who are going to do exactly what you just said, Pam, protect our interests. Not people who are just there to get something out of it for themselves, like some of the Supreme Court seat holders, but people who are really going to look out for our interests. And like you said...
And work with integrity,
Yes. Integrity matters.
Very much, very much. And we see when you have a lack of it, what kind of administration you get. Looking into fascism, just all kinds of nonsense. And becoming a country, Doris, of hate. That is not what I want to see.
No.
That is not what hate cannot win. And I don't believe it, and I'll always fight.
You are right about that. Between the video games that I think are numbing, we talk about dumbing down our kids, that are numbing out our kids when it comes to pain and any kind of trauma. People just don't care about each other anymore.
And that has to stop.
That has to stop. Because what the world needs now, as corny as it might sound, is love, sweet love. And I'm just going to keep on bringing it.
It's true.
It's true.
It's corny, but it's true.
But it is true.
So I just wanted to be able to say hello to you. Good to hear your voice.
Thank you.
And we've got to keep up the fight and keep us safe. So thank you, dear.
You're welcome, and thank you so much for calling. I appreciate that. That is the best call to end out this show, I tell you, with Pam calling in. I just love it. And I'm not sure who it is calling from Washington State, but I absolutely appreciate your comment. She says, Doris, great show. Hope you fill in for Joan again. And I see that my dear friend Ed Coleman, Ed, I did not know that you have come out of retirement to direct the Austin Chamber of Commerce. Absolutely. I definitely want to be talking with you. And I'm sure you will be asked to come in and join the conversation because you have been out there fighting the good fight. Anybody living in Austin that has an opportunity as an entrepreneur to join the Austin Chamber of Commerce, there is a man at the helm named Ed Coleman, whom I have known for a very, very long time, and he too will be about your business. So you want to make sure that you've got somebody like that who understands what you need and will represent you well. That's what I'm talking about. This is live, local, and progressive. Doris Davenport has been filling in for Joan Esposito the last 3 hours. I love you, and there ain't nothing you can do about it. Me and Lady B, we're heading out. See you guys next time. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Mark. We'll talk soon.
Sound familiar? At Mattress Firm, we understand there are many problems, like snoring, aches and pains, hot sleep, or even an old saggy mattress that can keep you up at night. And our sleep experts have the unrivaled know-how to match you with a mattress that can help. You now get a king bed for a queen price, plus a free adjustable base with select mattresses. For the great sleep you deserve, visit Mattress Firm. We make sleep easy. Restrictions apply. See store or website for details.
Stop by Sherwin-Williams and get 30% off select paints and stains August 15th through the 18th. It's the perfect time to transform your space with color. Refresh your home inside and out with colors that make every space feel brand new. From cozy interiors to stunning exteriors, we've got the perfect shade for your next project. Visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store or shop the sale online. Delivery available on qualifying orders. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Every 40 seconds, a child is reported missing. That's 2,000 children every single day. It's a heart-wrenching reality that we can no longer